Hello, everybody. Welcome to LT Gaming. My name is Tom.
And hey everyone, it's Luke here from LT Gaming, and I'm back. And this time, what are we looking at, Tom?
Today, we're going to do 7 early access games to get excited about in 2023.
Awesome. So, what we essentially are doing here is we're taking games that we've both played and that we see a lot of potential in. We're not saying they're the finished product, but they certainly have some very exciting aspects, and we think that you should keep an eye on them in 2023.
And we understand there is a little bit of kind of sometimes controversy around early access games, so we've strived our best to pick good projects that seem to have a lot of progress going with them. But, it is what it is in that sense.
Totally. Also, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe as we appreciate all of your interaction on the channel. So, the first game we're going to cover today is Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, and it's no stranger on the channel, right, Tom?
No, it certainly isn't. It's a stranger to me. I've never played this game before. All I know about it is what you've told me and what I've seen in your videos. So, as far as I understand, you're building your own battleships, and there's some form of campaign as well, but in development.
Correct. So, what I really enjoy about this game is the design aspect of the ships. And I'm going to be perfectly honest and say I've only ever really touch the campaign on a surface level. For me, it's all about building the ships, designing them, and pitting them against each other in these battles. The game has a few issues. Performance-wise, you have too many ships in a battle and it really chugs. And of course, it's been in early access for quite a long time. But I absolutely love that ship design and historical dreadnought period, so it just appeals to me.
And how long has it been in early access then? Is that a cause for concern at all?
Yeah, quite a long time. So I think it originally came out on the 10th of December 2021. They have been updating it ever since. And look, we have to give the studio some breaks. They were obviously the Russian and Ukraine war has caused some upheaval for them. So I do cut them some slack there. But overall, yeah, the development has been a little slow and they're still waiting to really finish some key elements. However, I still love it for the price.
Yeah, and when you said historical, what kind of range are we talking here? Is it the pre-battleship as well?
So what they did in one update is they added in the ability to play ironclads and included them in the tutorial. Now, I'm not going to lie, that is actually one of my favorite aspects of the game, is messing around with the ironclads. But then I did advance on and it taught me about dreadnoughts, pre-dreadnoughts, and how they really did conquer the seas prior to World War I and then beyond. So it goes all the way up to the 1945, I think, and you can build some absolute monsters in this game. But the battles themselves, I think they're unrivaled compared to other games, even if the ship customization is kind of, could do with some extra work.
Fantastic. I'm not going to lie, I kind of want to play this one now.
Yeah, look, it's not perfect, and it's one of those games that has a lot of flaws, but I still love it, and I think they have a great product, and I back the studio to deliver on this one.
Great stuff. And so next up, I'm bringing us something a little left field, way out in space. We are looking at Cosmoteer, Starship, Architect, and Commander, which in essence is a design and kind of simulation game set in space.
I mean, that definitely appeals to me, right? I like building battleships, so why would I not like building spaceships?
It's essentially like a 2D version of what you described with Ultimate Admiral. So it is a game that I made a video on a while ago, and it reminded me, and I think it's supposed to kind of be inspired a lot by FTL, which I think you did play quite a bit of too, right?
I played it. I was never as good at it as you were, because the same with Vampire Survivors, you pick up these games and you go completely wild on them compared to me, and I've moved on. So yeah, definitely I think FTL, it was your game.
Yeah, I tend to get a bit obsessed with games like this and really grind and put in the hours on them to unlock everything. And this game is very reminiscent of that. The only thing where I kind of suffer is I'm not super neat with my designs. So sometimes I feel like I'm flying a big, ugly Borg cube, and everyone I see online is flying these really elegantly designed starships. But hey, that's not my forte.
I also get that, because I'm very good at designing ships in UA because it's kind of modular, right? And I don't have to be too creative. I'm not that creative a person. So how would that affect me playing this game, which I haven't? I own this game, but I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, so it it is like you can go really into the minutia on the design, and like it goes really in depth from making all the subsystems and kind of crew optimal and their walking paths optimal, the power paths optimal. And then you can also have kind of a structural integrity kind of optimalness as well. So if you look at some of kind of the videos online, people develop very elegant looking things. It's never going to be me, but I still enjoy trying to do that regardless.
Perfect. Okay, and what do you do once you've designed a ship? I assume you take them into some sort of combat or exploration, or what's the game after you've designed?
Yeah, so it's like a procedurally generated kind of universe where a very much a sandbox approach. You fly around, you do missions, you get into fights with pirates, and it scales and gets more difficult as you go. I would say one huge thing is that this was released late last year, and it's already got 5,300 overwhelmingly positive reviews, which kind of speaks to how good this game is.
That really does help. You know, Steam reviews aren't everything, but they do give you a general consensus to kind of make a decision of. Like I said, I own this, and everything you've just said makes me want to check it out some more.
And it's going to be very much in the future focused on the co-op. So there's going to be co-op modes, which I think was something in FTL would have always been a lot of fun in that kind of setting. And they have a very robust and have been delivering on the roadmap so far. So that encourages me a lot for this.
Great. Very excited to see how this develops next year or this year. And next on the list, we come to Stranded: Alien Dawn. This is a game I have previously covered with 2 videos, so make sure to check those out. But essentially, it's a survival game set on a random planet that you have crash landed into. You then have to build a base and look after your survivors. It's in early access, but for me, and I think I got this across in my video, it's the small details in this game which just blow my mind already. And if they can keep developing it, it's going to be an exciting one.
Okay, so I know you've played a lot of these type of games. I've also played quite a few of these. Why have I seen you on this game on Steam all the time? Like 50, 60 plus hours I think you've put in. Why? What makes it different?
It's so addictive, right? It's set in space, which I obviously love. The premise of keeping your people alive is very exciting, but the environment they drop you in, it has you intrigued. I want to know more. I want to find out more about that tree over there. I can observe it. Once I've done that, it affects my survivors. I can build buildings and then build heating systems. If I don't use ventilation, that affects my heating system. If I open windows in the summer, the heat will be lost. It's just got a level of detail that I haven't seen. I think maybe in games like Going Medieval and other games like that, also that may be similar. But for some reason, this one grabbed me, just the survival aspect and the interactive elements they've built into it. It's looking pretty advanced.
So that sounds really cool. I mean, I love it when these sort of games have a deeper layer of strategy to them than just beyond the obvious. It is early access. Is there any negatives that you've encountered with the game yet, or?
So, like I said, I'd sum it up as a beautiful game world, very immersive and interactive elements between your characters. However, they've included combat, and the combat is weak. It is the worst aspect of the game, and they really do need to improve on it. You kind of dread it happening, and when it does happen, it's kind of over, and you've got to heal a couple of your people. But overall, the key pull of this game is the base building and the immersion between the different characters that you select.
And so finally to ask, this is something we've been discussing with all the games that we're talking about. How's the developer been delivering on the promises? Is progress happening? Is it going forward?
Yeah, I mean, the company and their publisher both have a history of actually putting out good games. So they were responsible for the game Surviving Mars, which I really enjoyed back in the day. So that pedigree speaks really well to me. And also, they have been dropping great updates as well. So I recently covered the Moons and Dunes update, which was very, very good. And it does show you that they're signposting to future content, extra moons, extra planets, new survivors. And like I said, you could pick this up now and it's playable, which is unusual for an early access game. So yeah, really, really good.
And next up, we're shifting gears completely. We are going to the world of RPG with Stolen Realm. And do you know this one, Luke?
I do own this game, but I've never played it, but I'm well aware that you covered it for the channel previously.
Yes, I have, and I absolutely love this game. It is a turn-based tactical kind of roguelite, I would say, with some action RPG elements thrown in for good measure. Very unusual for me to cover, I know.
Yeah, awesome. Like I was going to say, there was a time when literally all you did was cover tactical-based RPGs, and I was like, Tom, please mix it up.
Yeah, I do have a tendency to get suckered into those type of games for sure. But this one is, I would say, the cream of the crop, and it's still in early access. It has a crazy cool loot system, and then kind of like a procedurally generated campaign-style map. And some things that I haven't delved into is they've got quite a robust co-op online, which we should try, I think.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I can see that as well, that it's based around online co-op. Like I said, I've never played it, but I was well aware of you singing its praises at the time and even now that it is a good game. Do you know how they are delivering or how the updates have been coming for this one?
Yeah, so they have been very active and they're extremely responsive to the reviews on Steam. So when people make a complaint or, say something's broken, the developer themselves will respond very quickly usually. So I'm a big fan of that, a very active developer. And they've been kind of going through the motions with what they've planned. And that's all kind of good signs to me in an early access game.
Do you know what might make me play this one is the fact that I just had a look on the Steam page and it's Steam Deck compatible, is actually playable with only a couple of yellow flags, which means that it will run very well. So that might be a way for me to get back into it because obviously I'm pretty high on my Steam Deck stuff right now and I'm very happy to see that it's playable.
Yeah, I don't own a Steam Deck, so I have to bow to your knowledge on that one, but I think if this sort of game would really appeal to, keeping you awake at night, playing the Steam Deck to the early hours.
Just what I need. My partner will be delighted. Right, so the next one I want to talk about is a brand new game to the channel, but one that I picked up during the Steam Christmas sale, and it's My Time at Sandrock, the sequel to My Time at Portia, and it is a very cool building game set in a very unique environment. It's focused on single player, which is unique. However, in this one, they are actually having a multiplayer test next week, so it's a perfect time to jump in to early access.
Okay, that's a lot to unpack there. I'll be honest with you, the My Time at Portia game passed me by. I know it was huge and it was very popular. I just never got into it. Do you need to play the first one? Is it essential? Did you play the first one? Do you have much background with the game, or?
So I first picked up My Time at Portia on the Nintendo Switch and I had a really good time with it. You know me, I tend to play games and if I get distracted, I'm gone. And that's what happened with me at My Time at Portia. I got quite far into it, suddenly got distracted on another game and I never played it again. But when I saw this come up, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to give this a try because it's a fun single player experience. And although it's set in a very cutesy yet impressive looking world, it does have an element of challenge to it. And I really enjoy the day and night mechanic. So you have to go to bed at a certain time, get up, and then everything's, ready to do for the next day. So very much like a 3D Stardew Valley, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Is there any sort of PvE or... Because from what I can see some PvE, new combat mechanics added, but what's that like?
So basically, yeah, you can take on enemies within the environment, but it's primarily a building game and a community game. So as you go through the story, you start to develop relationships with the different characters. They remember you. They have different birthdays. You have your own birthday. There's celebrations. On the weekend, certain events will happen within town and you go to those events. It is really immersive and I just really enjoy it. It's very different to everything else I play at the moment. And you know me, I'm not mad in the cartoony vibe, but this one, it just sucks you in. And I like playing it on the Steam Deck, although the battery life is a bit of an issue with this one. And I've just found it very relaxing to play. I'm not that far into it, maybe 5 hours, but I'm having a great time.
And as we've kind of touched on this with all the other games, are you aware of the development timeline? Is it going well? Is it going poorly? Any red flags here, or?
I think it looks good. So the game came out in early access on the 26th of May. The development team looks really interactive. I've seen a lot of Reddit posts, a lot of updates on Steam, and of course, we were all invited as players to this open test for the multiplayer next week. I think they're doing a really good job, and I think they've got a great product on their hands. It's a relaxing, unique game, and I highly recommend it. And I'm really excited to sort of go to bed tonight, fire up the Steam Deck, and start playing it again. It's just fun to unwind to.
All right, cool. And I can also attest to the fact you do hate cartoonish vibes. If I portray you as a cartoon in any video, you get real mad. So it's good to know that doesn't put you off.
I can be a bit. I am the difficult diva of the channel. We know this, but hey. The only thing I want to touch on before we leave this one is it has some really fun and cute mini games, which I've really enjoyed.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing some of the visuals here on the Steam page. So, no, this is one I actually think I might pick up myself.
I hope to do more with it on the channel. I just haven't worked out how to put it onto the channel yet and what format that will be in, but I look forward to doing that in the future.
And the next game we will cover is Songs of Conquest, which is a game I've also featured on the channel. Have you heard of this one, Luke?
Yeah, I've been keeping my eye on this one because it looks beautiful, and obviously it reminds me of Heroes of Might and Magic 3. You are definitely more the expert in that realm. What's your opinion on how this compares?
Yes, so this is in many aspects one of those games which they say is a spiritual successor to Heroes of Might and Magic 3 specifically, which is a game, if you're familiar with the channel, the earlier days, I love that game. A little bit obsessed with that game. I'm always got, some form of campaign going on with that title. And I played this game and I really enjoyed it, but I still preferred Heroes 3. But luckily, this one is in early access still.
Okay, I find that kind of a difficult point, because if Heroes 3 is that old, and of course it is a classic, I'm not denying that, how can a game that's come out in 2022 not sort of meet those expectations? Where does it fall down?
I guess in some ways I'm probably a victim because I'm such a fan of Heroes 3 that I like that style, I like that aesthetic, but they have done some really cool developments. One thing that was in Heroes 3 was the random map generator, and so every long-term player eventually kind of gravitates towards that. And they didn't have that in Songs of Conquest, but they recently just delivered it as promised. I believe it was in December they introduced the random map generator. So as the features start to come and be more, there's more layers of strategy going on with it, I think this game will start to appeal to me more and more.
Okay, and just as a game standalone, and obviously we're recommending this as an early access title, to me the artwork looks amazing. Does the gameplay match that?
Yeah, so I did think initially I wasn't a fan of the battles as much as in Heroes 3, but they have grown on me over time, and now I do see they have their own nuance and their own kind of strategies. And in many ways, I just need to get out of that old mindset. And I think this year I'm going to do that. I'm going to, dive more into Songs of Conquest.
So this year you're going to stop being an old codger and embrace the Songs of Conquest, yes?
Exactly. I'm going to stop being stuck in 1999 and move forward into at least 2022.
Yeah, but you got to remember, those games, like Heroes 2 especially, were so iconic when we were growing up. I mean, we were obsessed with those games, remember?
Oh, it's like one of those definitive games for me. Like Dungeon Keeper, like Civilization 2 for us, Colonization, they all kind of gripped us and defined how we see gaming going forward, right?
For sure. Look, I don't own this one, and I also see, because I'm obsessed with Steam Deck, that it is playable on Steam Deck, so I really appreciate that from the devs. But yeah, I'm very interested in it, and I would definitely look to pick it up at the right price.
Cool. We'll keep you posted on this one, people.
And the next game I'd like to feature in our early access series is Kingdom Reborn, which is a very unique city builder. And before you jump in and say, whoa, we've got loads of those, this one really does have a very strategic vibe to it. So you start quite granular with your small city, but slowly start to take over other elements of the map and compete with other civilizations. I'm about 8 hours in, so I don't know everything about this game, and I do plan a video on it, but so far, so good.
Okay, so you did say city builder, and I will admit my eyes glazed over a bit. So
Not your favorite genre?
I feel like there's so many of them out there that it's almost impossible to pick these days. But I did look at the Steam page for this one, and the aesthetics, and particularly I think they've got like a new Viking faction, looks really cool. So it's kind of speaking to that side of me. But what makes this one different from your bog standard city builder?
I think it's what I touched on in the beginning. It's the scope, right? So you start with a very tiny medieval city, and that can grow to be a prosperous empire. So it becomes more of an empire builder, not a city builder. It's the scale that this game works at. So you start quite zoomed in, and when you're new to the game, you're very focused on just your one settlement and trying to survive through the winter and get wood and all the different things you need to survive. But as you take over other sectors, you realize you zoom out, and it becomes a much more macro level game as well. I will say my only concern with this one is it's been in development since November 2020. They've just added this Viking faction, but they could do with a lot more factions in it, and I think that's where they could definitely look to improve. But the core gameplay is very, very good.
Yeah, it sounds cool. It sounds almost like it goes to a grand strategy level. Is that kind of accurate, or?
I wouldn't say it goes to like a grand strategy, but you can compete with other civilizations and fight them, trade with them, use different cards on them. So it still does maintain its roots as a city builder, but you do get that global empire reach, which is definitely unique. And also, it is slightly cheaper than a lot of the AAA city builders out there.
Fair enough. That's always a bonus. One thing I would say that speaks to, like you mentioned, a kind of small red flag about the early access being so long. A lot of good reviews I noticed up for the game. Almost 10,000. Half that. 5,000 positive reviews, but there's no complaints about it not being updated or anything, which I think is a positive sign.
100%, and the developer actually reached out to me on this one and gave me a copy of the game, so they're actively promoting it, which I appreciate. And as I can see, I've looked back into the history of the development, they have continued to keep providing updates, which is great. I think that history of updates is important, and it's also good to see with early access titles what the route forward is, and I think they do have a clear vision for this. And like you say, most people are very happy with the end product so far. I mean, it's 90% positive on Steam.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's one to look out for sure.
Definitely. And I do plan at least a let's try or maybe a review of this game in the future.
And there we have it, guys. 7 early access games to get excited about in 2023. I'm pretty amped for everything on this list, even the ones that Luke included, so that's really saying something.
Oh, thanks so much. I actually thought I brought some nice left field choices to this list this time.
Yeah, you certainly did. And you wanted to talk about kind of the scope of our overview of early access games a bit?
Yeah, I think one of the things that me and you are passionate about is finding games that other people don't know and introducing people to games. Yeah, it's really something we like to do on the channel. And I just want you to know that this list is not a definitive list. We have many of these to come. So do keep an eye on the channel. Comment, subscribe, and stay with us because we have plenty cool new games to introduce you to.
Yeah, and I really love reading through the comments that you guys have made on our other lists, suggesting games. Few stupid comments here and there, but that's part and parcel of it. We accept that.
We have had some really funny comments, and honestly, if you are putting silly comments, we might troll you back, so it's all good. We're happy with that.
Yeah, but let us know what games you got your eye on. Do you have your eye on these games that we've mentioned? What do you think? Yeah, just jump in and take part in the discussion, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
Yeah, exactly like Tom said, we love all of your interaction on this channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.